Ever wondered why the Israel-Palestine conflict seems to be an unsolvable puzzle? In the realm of international politics, few subjects are as contentious, as debated, or as perplexing as the enduring confrontation between Israel and Palestine. This conflict, which has been playing out on the global stage for more than half a century, continues to captivate the attention of nations across the world. It is a narrative filled with political intrigue, religious fervor, and human resilience, a saga that delves into the heart of identity, nationhood, and the quest for self-determination. Its complexity, however, often leaves observers bewildered, grappling to understand its origins, its implications, and potential resolutions. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not merely a dispute over land, it is a clash of narratives, a battle of histories, a war of perceptions. It is a struggle rooted in the very fabric of two people's identities, intertwined in a labyrinth of historical events, religious beliefs, and political ideologies. It is a story of two nations, each with a profound conviction of their right to exist, their right to self-determine, and their right to call the same piece of earth home. This video seeks to trace the roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict, to delve into the heart of this age-old dispute. We will journey back in time, exploring key historical events, understanding the perspectives of both sides, and unraveling the intricate web of ideologies, beliefs, and events that have shaped this conflict. Our aim is not to take sides, but to shed light, to inform and to promote understanding. We believe that understanding the past is crucial to shaping the future, that knowledge is a powerful tool in the pursuit of peace. So, whether you're a student of history, an avid follower of global politics, or simply a curious observer, we invite you to join us on this journey. Let us delve into the labyrinth of this conflict, uncover its roots, and perhaps gain a deeper understanding of why it remains one of the world's most enduring disputes. Join us as we unfold the layers of history behind this protracted dispute. Our journey begins in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. In a world undergoing massive changes, the dawn of a new era was emerging. It was during this time that the Zionist movement began to gain momentum. Zionism, a national movement for the return of the Jewish people to their homeland and the resumption of Jewish sovereignty in the land of Israel, was born out of the combined forces of age-old Jewish connections to the Holy Land and the modern European ideas of nationalism. The early Zionists, driven by a desire for a safe haven from the scourge of anti-Semitism, began to lay the groundwork for what they hoped would be a Jewish homeland. But this dream was not without its complications. The land they sought was already inhabited primarily by Arab Palestinians. Then, in the early 20th century, the British entered the scene. In the aftermath of the First World War, Britain took control of Palestine, under a mandate from the League of Nations. The British, with their imperial interests and geopolitical calculations, found themselves in the middle of a brewing conflict. Perhaps one of the most significant events of this period was the Balfour Declaration of 1917. The British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour, in a letter to Lord Rothschild, a leader of the British Jewish community, stated Britain's support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This declaration, though it promised to uphold the civil and religious rights of the existing non-Jewish communities, was seen by many Palestinians as a betrayal, setting the stage for the decades of conflict that would follow. The implications of the Balfour Declaration were profound. It put the might of British imperial power behind the Zionist dream, providing a significant boost to the Jewish national movement. But it also sowed the seeds of resentment among the Arab Palestinians, who felt their rights and claims to the land were being disregarded. So, from the dawn of history, we see the roots of a conflict that would span over a century, with two peoples laying claim to the same piece of land. This was just the beginning of a long and intricate saga. 1948, a year of joy for some and sorrow for others. In this pivotal year, the world witnessed the birth of a new nation, the State of Israel. But this birth was not a simple celebration of nationhood. It was a complex, multifaceted event that sparked joy, hope, fear, and despair, all in equal measure. The establishment of Israel was the fulfillment of a dream, a culmination of centuries of Jewish longing for a homeland. For many Jews, especially those who had survived the horrors of the Holocaust, it was seen as a beacon of hope, a place where they could finally live in safety and freedom, a place where they could, at last, exercise their right to self-determination. But the birth of Israel was not without its complications. its establishment was met with strong opposition from the Arab nations surrounding it, leading to the First Arab-Israeli War. This war, while resulting in a victory for Israel, marked the beginning of a protracted conflict that still rages on today. From the Palestinian perspective, the establishment of Israel was seen as a Nakba, an Arabic term that translates to catastrophe. Many Palestinians were dispossessed, their homes and lands taken to accommodate the new state. The joy of Israel's birth was their sorrow, their tragedy. The establishment of the State of Israel for them marked the beginning of a long and painful struggle for recognition, for justice, for a place to call home. It's critical to remember that these events are not just historical facts, but lived experiences. The joy and the sorrow, the hope and the despair, the victories and the losses, they were all felt deeply by real people. And these feelings, these experiences, they shape the narratives and the perspectives that fuel the conflict today. The stage was set for a conflict that would span generations. The birth of Israel, marked by joy and sorrow, by hope and despair, by victory and loss, was just the beginning. The complexities of its birth echo in the complexities of the ongoing conflict, a tragic testament to the human cost of nationhood. 1967, when 6 days changed the Middle East forever. Let's step back to the year 1967, a time of intense political fervor and strife. The Six-Day War, a conflict that would forever alter the trajectory of the Middle East, was about to unfold. This wasn't merely a territorial dispute, it was a clash of ideologies, a struggle for identity and existence. In the early morning hours of June 5th, Israel launched a surprise attack against Egypt. Their objective? To neutralize the looming threat from their Arab neighbors, who had been amassing troops along Israel's borders. Over the next 6 days, Israel would also wage war against Jordan and Syria. The results were decisive and far-reaching. By the end of this short but intense war, Israel emerged victorious, having seized control of the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. This was a monumental shift in the Middle East power dynamics, and it brought about a new era of occupation. The West Bank and the Gaza Strip, home to hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, were now under Israeli control. This wasn't just about land, it was about people, lives, and homes. The occupation led to a significant shift in demographics, and introduced a new set of complex challenges. The Israeli government was now responsible for the welfare of the Palestinians living in these territories, and the Palestinians were living under a foreign administration, leading to feelings of displacement and disenfranchisement. These new territories also meant new borders, new checkpoints, and new restrictions. The everyday lives of Palestinians became entangled in a web of bureaucracy and military control. And for Israel, maintaining control over these areas became a focal point of their security policies. The Six-Day War didn't just change the map, it changed the narratives, the identities, and the futures of everyone involved. The repercussions of this war are still felt today, shaping the discourse and dynamics of the Israel-Palestine conflict. With new territories came new tensions. The late 20th century, a time of uprisings and peace processes. The era was marked by two key Palestinian uprisings against Israeli occupation known as the Intifadas. The First Intifada broke out in 1987, sparking a wave of civil disobedience and resistance that rocked the region for over half a decade. This was not just a conflict of arms, it was a struggle of stones against bullets, of will against force. Then, the Second Intifada erupted in the year 2000. It was a period of intensified Israeli-Palestinian violence, and the death toll on both sides escalated. The Second Intifada was more violent, more desperate, and more damaging than the first. It was a clear signal that the issues at the heart of this conflict were yet to be resolved. In the backdrop of these uprisings, there was a glimmer of hope: the Oslo Accords. These were a series of peace agreements between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, signed in the early 1990s. For the first time in history, both parties recognized each other's right to exist. It was a significant step towards peace, but it was not without its setbacks. The assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in 1995 was a devastating blow to the peace process. Rabin was a key figure in the Oslo Accords, and his death sent shockwaves through the region. His assassination is often seen as a turning point where hope for peace started to fade. The aftermath of Rabin's death saw a deterioration of the peace process. It was a stark reminder of how fragile peace can be, and how a single act of violence can alter the course of history. The late 20th century was indeed a time of uprisings and peace processes, but it was also a time of unfulfilled promises and missed opportunities. The First and Second Intifadas and the Oslo Accords are significant chapters in the Israel-Palestine narrative, each leaving an indelible mark on the region's history. The road to peace proved to be a bumpy one. The new millennium, when the conflict took a turn for the worse. As the 20th century ended, the seeds of discord sown years ago bore fruit in the form of the Second Intifada. This uprising, a violent outpouring of frustration and despair, erupted in the year 2000. It was a period marked by suicide bombings, airstrikes, and an overall escalation in violence, leaving thousands dead and wounded on both sides. The Second Intifada was a stark reminder of the volatile nature of the Israel-Palestine conflict. In the aftermath of this bloodshed, Israel made a bold decision in 2005. They withdrew from the Gaza Strip, uprooting thousands of Israelis in the process. This action, seen by some as a step towards peace, resulted in a power vacuum that was swiftly filled by Hamas, an Islamist political organization with a militant arm. The rise of Hamas in Gaza further complicated the already convoluted situation, adding a new player to the fraught chessboard of Middle Eastern politics. Meanwhile, the elephant in the room remained the ongoing settlement issue. Israeli settlements in the West Bank continued to grow, creating a patchwork of Israeli and Palestinian territories. These settlements, considered illegal by international law, have been a constant source of tension, exacerbating the clash over land and sovereignty. And then there is Jerusalem, the city at the heart of it all. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim Jerusalem as their capital, yet its status remains unresolved. The city, sacred to three religions, symbolizes the deep-seated religious, cultural, and political divisions that fuel this conflict. As we entered the second decade of the 21st century, it seemed the Israel-Palestine conflict had reached a quagmire. Despite numerous peace proposals and negotiations, no lasting solution has been found. The conflict, like a wound that refuses to heal, continues to fester, affecting countless lives and shaping the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. The conflict seems to have reached a stalemate. The conflict isn't just about land or politics, it's about people. In fact, the human cost of the Israel-Palestine conflict is immense, and it continues to escalate with each passing day. Consider the casualties. Thousands of lives have been lost since the conflict's inception. Each one was a person with a story, a family, dreams, and aspirations. Each death leaves behind a void that can never be filled, a wound that time struggles to heal. The loss of life is not limited to those involved in the conflict directly. Innocent bystanders, children playing in the streets, parents going about their daily chores, all have fallen victim to this protracted conflict. Beyond the human lives lost, consider the refugees. Countless individuals have been uprooted from their homes, their lives turned upside down. Some have been displaced multiple times, leaving them with a sense of perpetual uncertainty and insecurity. They live in temporary shelters, often in poor conditions, longing for a home that may no longer exist. The refugee crisis is a stark reminder of the human toll of this conflict, a testament to the enduring hardships faced by those caught in the crossfire. But perhaps the most pervasive impact of the conflict is on the daily lives of the people. It's the fear that grips you when you hear a siren or the sound of an explosion. It's the anxiety of not knowing if your loved ones are safe. It's the routine checkpoint stops, the curfews, the constant surveillance. It's the economic hardship, the lack of opportunities, the barriers to education and healthcare. It's the dreams shattered and the futures uncertain. It's a cycle of violence and retribution, of fear and mistrust, of loss and suffering. It's a cycle that has been perpetuated for decades, with no end in sight. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not just a geopolitical dispute, it's not just a question of land or politics. It's a human tragedy, a saga of suffering and loss that has affected millions. And the cost of this conflict is not measured in dollars or acres, in treaties signed or resolutions passed. The cost of this conflict is measured in human lives and suffering. So, where do we go from here? A question that has been asked countless times and yet remains unanswered. As we look to the future of the Israel-Palestine conflict, we see potential solutions, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities. One of the most widely discussed solutions is the two-state solution. This would mean the establishment of an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. The two-state solution is seen by many as the most viable option, a way to fulfill the national aspirations of both Palestinians and Israelis while ensuring the rights of both communities. But implementing this solution is fraught with difficulties, from the question of borders to the status of Jerusalem, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. On the other hand, there's the one-state solution, an idea that proposes a single, binational state in which Israelis and Palestinians would live together with equal rights. This concept, though less popular, features potential benefits such as the elimination of borders and the creation of a shared multicultural society. However, it also raises serious questions about the preservation of national identities and the potential for continued conflict within a unified state. The role of the international community in finding a resolution cannot be understated. A solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict requires more than just negotiations between the two parties. It requires a concerted international effort. The world community can play a crucial role in facilitating dialogue, providing aid, and ensuring the enforcement of international law. However, any solution, whether one state or two state, must be grounded in mutual respect, equality, and justice. It must ensure the rights and aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians. It must address the historical injustices and build towards a future of shared prosperity and peace. Although the path ahead is fraught with challenges, we must remember that the most profound changes in history often seemed impossible until they were done. The path to peace is difficult, but not impossible. As we come to the end of this journey, we see that the Israel-Palestine conflict is a complex issue with deep historical roots. Its roots are intertwined with the annals of history, spanning millennia, shaping and being shaped by the socio-political landscape of the region. We journeyed from the dawn of history, observing the birth of a nation and the tumultuous events that followed. We delved into the 6 days that shook the world and the 2 intifadas, events that changed the course of history and left indelible marks on the lives of millions. The 21st century quagmire, as we've seen, is but a continuation of this long-standing conflict, a testament to the enduring nature of the issues at hand. The human cost, as we've explored, is staggering, underscoring the urgent need for resolution and peace. But understanding this conflict is not merely about tracing historical events or enumerating tragedies. It's about gaining insight into the hearts and minds of the people at the heart of this struggle. It's about acknowledging their fears, their hopes, their dreams, their losses, and their triumphs. It's about recognizing their shared humanity amidst their differences. Looking ahead, we see a future that is uncertain, but not without hope. The path to peace may be fraught with challenges, but it is not unattainable. The key lies in understanding the past, understanding each other, understanding the complex interplay of history, politics, and human emotions that fuel this conflict. In the end, it's about more than just land or religion or politics. It's about people, their lives, their histories, their futures. It's about the human capacity for resilience and hope, for forgiveness and reconciliation, for change and growth. So let's take what we've learned from this journey and use it to foster understanding, empathy, and dialogue. For understanding the past is the first step towards shaping a peaceful future.